GDPR and what it means for your dental practice. Hi, this is another episode of Next Level Practice Talks with myself, Hassan Mushaid, and today I'm dressed like Superman because I'm covering such a large topic. I need the energy and the power to do this. Most of you may have come across the new GDPR regulations, but GDPR just means General Data Protection Regulations. These are new regulations that are being taken effect into the 25th of May 2018, and there's a lot of scaremongering going on around there, around the industry as well, from law firms specifically and also marketing agencies, because what they want you to do is part with your money in order to improve your GDPR policies. And I'll quickly break that down for you, what you need to know and what you need to do, especially in terms of marketing. So GDPR are just new regulations that give the consumer a lot more control and power. People and companies out there share a lot of data on people, and they share with other companies. In the dental industry, we normally do that with the NHS services for referrals. In other companies and industries, they share that with other sister companies to cross-sell or promote other products. And they also sell data, so companies acquire your data and sell it to other companies as well, so they can also sell stuff to you. The GDPR regulation, which is a European directive, is just closing down and clamping down on people that are abusing data, and I think it's a good thing. But the reason you shouldn't be worried about it is because dentistry is quite ahead of other industries. I mean, normal dental practices already are heavily regulated with CQC regulations, GDC regulations, ICO regulations are part of the Data Protection Policy Act, so you're already quite ready for the GDPR when it kicks in on the 25th of May 2018. The only thing you need to know is that if you're quite a regulated practice and you have all the right procedures and policies in place, the only thing that will affect you in terms of data is really setting up new policies and frameworks. And there's something not that different to what you already do. Dental practices take data protection quite seriously because you're so regulated, and the way the industry is changing, you have to be. Every dental practice has a data controller, which you have to inform the ICO about who your data controller is, and you have to explain to them the type of data that you carry in your practice and how you make sure it's secure. All you have to do now is just add some extra directives in there, such as where the information comes from, who you share it with, where is it contained, and how you obtained it, have you got consent, and what will you be doing with that data. And you need to have a process in place if somebody ever requests access to their own personal data, or they wish to remove their data, that you have a framework in place that is executed within a certain number of hours or days for the benefit of the consumer. Now, most dental practices used to charge, if somebody wanted their dental notes, they used to charge them maybe 30, 40 pounds, 50 pounds. And usually the reason was because dentists had this fear that they might be taking the notes to another dentist, so they might be switching dental providers, or they might be looking to sue the dentist. So dentists put on high fees to prevent patients doing this. No, I'm not saying all dentists, but there are a small number of dentists that have done this. And they also feel that there's something that they can take advantage of and charge people money to provide them with their information. Unfortunately, you won't be able to do that anymore. So you won't be able to charge people for acquiring their own data. That's something that is a big change to the dental industry. Secondly, if you are doing marketing for your patients, and this means website has Google Analytics on there, Google AdWords, Facebook ads, email campaigns, various other marketing techniques that you might be using, you need to also be aware of how GDPR affects that. When it comes to email marketing, which most practices do on a basic level, is to send out email newsletters once a month or every quarter. You need to make sure that you've got the patient's consent, that they are willing to accept marketing promotional material, and that consent has to be, it can be a tick, but it has to be something that they tick, and there's a signature on there as well. I mean, normally people or dentist practices put this in their medical history form, which is fine. Just a little tick box at the bottom of the signature of the medical history form. Please tick here if you are okay with us sending you promotional material or marketing literature or any updates on the practice, and most people will tick that box. Some practices or some websites have quite sly tactics where the box is already ticked. Untick this if you want to receive marketing, and it's quite a clever tactic to make people unconsciously get into the whole marketing funnel. Now, this is something that you won't be able to do anymore. They have to take action in order to give you consent, not take action and be automatically put into some sort of consent. So that you won't be able to do that anymore. And you also need to make sure that whenever you get this consent form or consent, you need to make some sort of Excel document that has a record of the patient, when they gave this consent, how they gave this consent, on what date, and if the patient ever requests from the practice, how did you get my information, or why did you send me an email marketing campaign out, that you have the evidence there in place that shows them you gave us consent on this day using this form, and we collected this data. And if they have ask any other questions, have you shared my information with anybody else, and all these kind of things, you have all those answers there in place. And you need to have somebody in charge who delegated to this. As normally is the data protection, data control in your practice, and it's usually the practice manager or the practice owner. So they need to be aware of these, and then you need to also create a new privacy policy on how data is collected in the practice, and where it's used, and what you can do with it to obtain it, and what you can do with it to erase it as well. So in terms of marketing, you also need to be aware of your website cookies. Now, cookies are little tracking cookies that tell Google and other businesses and marketing platforms what your behavior is online. And normally, if you are using Google Analytics or Facebook ads or Facebook pixels on your website, you are tracking people on your website, and you need to get their consent to do this. Just having a simple pop-up, I mean, you've probably seen it on the websites. We have cookies on the website to give you a nice experience. Are you okay with this? And if they want to read the cookie privacy policy, you need to have that option there as well on your website, so they can read this and make sure that they are given the correct consent and they know what they get into. You need to tell them about Google Analytics and Facebook ad pixel that you're using on your website. And it just makes you safe, really, because there will be some legal firms that will be taking advantage of this, because you can be penalized for not having the right processes in place or the right information in place. If somebody wants to find out how you got the information and you have no answer for this or no clue, they can sue you, because they might think that you've obtained this through illegal methods of buying the data, which it will be soon prevented, and you'll know that when the insurance companies and all these cold calling companies will become quiet because of this. So privacy policy and cookie policy needs to be updated on your website. You need to make sure for any email marketing campaigns or any place where you use your data to upload into even Facebook ads, any email addresses, that you get full consent from the patient that you're okay with doing this. A third thing is Facebook ads. If you are running Facebook ads or Google ads and somebody contacts your dental practice, and let's say they filled in a form on a landing page, you've now got their email, their name, their telephone number, and normally what you do is you give them a call and say, hi, we received an inquiry from you from our website, you were interested in dental implants, how can we help you? That's all fine. It's what you do with that information afterwards that will make sure that whether you're complying with the new GDPR regulations or not. You need to make sure that that data is stored in a safe place. You need to let the patient know if you are going to use that data for other marketing purposes. And you need to have a structure in place where there's dates and times and how you obtain this information and where you got this information from. So if a patient ever asks you, what data do you have on me and where did you get it from, you can tell them we got this from a Facebook ad that you filled out on this date and this time, and we have not used this for any other marketing purposes. It's safely stored, and that's enough. That's all they need to know. And if they want to delete that, they can do. You've got to follow the full process, which you probably should already have in a kind of a privacy policy anyway. Which is request the information, the practice manager will get back to you, we'll give you an email or a letter with all the information in there. If you want it erased, we can do that for you. It takes us 72 hours to do this. And so all these simple procedures can be in place, but in terms of marketing, you need to make sure that you get consent and you let people know what you are doing with their data on your website, and it'll make sure that you're protected and safe and that you comply with the new GDPR regulations. Please don't send out any more email marketing campaigns to your existing patients who you already have their email addresses. You've collected email addresses from patients you've been seeing for the last 10 years, and these could amount to thousands of email addresses. Before sending out any mass email campaigns out, make sure that you revisit these patients and get their consent with sending emails out. Not only will this protect you from the GDPR regulations that are taken in place in next year, but also save you from the CAN spam laws. If you're reading my article, they're just below, and it's a link there that tells you more about the CAN spam laws. But basically, it's an American law which prevents people from spamming other people with email addresses, and it just means that if your email address is contacting people that haven't given their consent to, they can then report you, and the other email marketing companies will share your information across to every other company and let them know that this person is a spam email address. And when I'm referring to the email companies, I mean Outlook, Gmail, other email platforms. And if they get a wind of this email address doing some spammy, dodgy interactions, every time that you send an email, you'll immediately go into people's junk folder, because your email address has a bad reputation. So before doing any kind of mass email campaigns, make sure you got consent, make sure people are expecting the email, and that way they won't class you as spam and put you straight into the junk box, because this information is shared across everywhere throughout the email platforms, and they will all mark you as spam, and that's your email address devalued really. Any time you try and contact a new patient inquiry, it'll immediately go straight to the junk box and they'll never hear of you. And they'll ask you maybe 2 months down the line, I made an inquiry, you never contacted me. Hence, therefore, I've gone to another dental practice. So you need to make sure you comply with all these regulations, especially your existing patients. You have to kind of regain their consent for any marketing purposes. And I suggest you start doing that immediately to make sure that you're safe, and don't send out any mass email campaigns unless you've got full consent and it's documented where you got it from, what date, what information was obtained, and how you got that. And if they ever requested, there's full processes in place. But I hope you found that useful, and if you needed more information on the new GDPR regulations or how you can make yourself protected, do contact me or comment below and I'll get back to you. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned for next week's show.